Hi guys, it's punishment day. I know this is probably going to go up a little late because I didn't have a lot of time to edit and post today, but I will get it up as soon as I can. So today, I'm going to be reading you an excerpt from my book report on Twilight, which turned out to be like 9 pages long. So I'm only going to read like 3 pages from it, but I will post a link or something to the rest of it for for everybody's enjoyment. Although I'm sure none of you will probably read it, which is a-okay with me. But whatever. Thank you for making me read this book. It was enjoyable as hell, and that is a lie. It really wasn't. But I got it done, and as you can see in the corner, I took a time lapse of myself reading it, so you get to enjoy little snippets of my facial expressions and the like. So without further ado, here is an excerpt from my analysis. Basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to skip the actual synopsis of the story because it's really long and it's unnecessary for me to actually... It's the best part for me to cut out to save on time. Twilight, by Stephanie Meyer, can be approached from two different inherent directions. When looking at this story from a literary angle, one must make the decision as to which of these two directions to attack their analysis from. The difficulty here lies in that these unrelated approaches are completely mutually exclusive. The first option, and the one that I find myself falling into most often, both before reading the actual text as well as now, is the reason why most intelligent human beings can easily see that this story is utterly ridiculous. Now, for the sake of this report, I've done my best to ignore that rational, portion of my brain that urges me to consider this the first category, in order to give you, my dear friends, a more legitimate analysis of this work of fiction. What this first assumption is that Stephanie Meyer is a crazy person. Now, in assuming that Stephanie Meyer is a crazy person, we can somehow convince our brains to justify the existence of a work of literary fiction the likes of Twilight. Now, the second, more unfortunate option is to assume that Stephanie Meyer is a genius. In assuming that Stephanie Meyer is a genius, we can see why a person like herself could write a 500-page novel about a normal, uninteresting 17-year-old girl with a plethora of family problems who gets thrown into a situation where she's a unique, special snowflake whose mind can't be read by a 100-year-old vampire who can read everybody else's minds, who likes to spend his eternity masquerading as a high school student in rural Oregon. Now, why? Well, because it appeals to the audience of millions of other normal, uninteresting 17-year-old girls who have no larger desire than to be seen as a unique, special snowflake. So naturally, they love this story. Now, I'd like to place a disclaimer on this now, early on, that I'm going to be generalizing 17-year-old girls and their intelligence and emotional stability a lot in this analysis. Half because I'm old, and half because it's just easier to do so. At this point, I am going to skip ahead to the end of the actual synopsis, just because it's going to make everybody's lives a lot easier. At this point, I add a lot of answers to the questions that Max posited. So I'll just jump right into it. I'll read the last 2 pages, and we'll be done. Bella's actually written to be a much more emotional character than the way she was portrayed by Kristen Stewart in the movies. She cries a ton, cracks a lot of teenage awkward jokes, and I actually enjoyed her character a lot more than I originally expected to enjoy a self-centered 17-year-old girl, especially when compared to Kristen Stewart's portrayal. Now, in general, there's a much more accurate portrayal of teenage angst and emotion throughout the novel. It would have been an infinitely better movie if they were to have approached Bella's character in this fashion instead of Kristen Stewarting her. Not that the movie would have been good by any loose definition of the word. But it definitely would have been better. However, it would also probably have made the effect that the riff tracks had on us as viewers a lot less funny. I would definitely consider this more realistic characters and approachability and accessibility the best part of the book when versus the movie, as well as the best part of the book in and of itself. I was surprised by it. Now, the worst part of the book would have been, the constant condescension from Bella, coupled with the constant teenage angst that just filled her inner monologue. However, the constant and unrelenting way that Bella describes Edward's appearance becomes completely unbearable before you hit chapter 8. We get it. He's pretty. Shut the fuck up. Now, as far as relating to a certain character, the one that I found most compelling would have to be Charlie, her dad. And the poor man is actually pretty awesome, okay? Mustache Dad genuinely cares about his daughter. But he doesn't really know how to be a dad since he's never had an opportunity to do so. However, Bella constantly and continually treats him like a child for no real reason at all. She doesn't respect him whatsoever. I don't mean to imply that there's not any niceties between the two of them. Bella cooks him meals and is polite, but she constantly keeps a condescending tone, voice when speaking with the man. This role reversal and Charlie's constant strained efforts to be a good father makes Charlie, at least in my eyes, the real victim of this book. He tries his damnedest while Bella just doesn't actively give a shit.
Well, that's the end of the book. 500 pages. Time to write my report. Also, Max, or your girlfriend, not really sure which one of you, but one of you guys forgot your shirt. And it's pretty girly, since the sleeves are only out to here. So I figured it would be appropriate for me to wear it while I read your book. Time to write my report, I guess.